It's library day in elementary school around Halloween, and the other kids are all talking about R.L. Stine's Goosebumps. They rave about how scary the books are, but you know something even more terrifying. You go to the horror section and find your school's copy of Alvin Schwartz's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The cover alone sends shivers down your spine, and the illustrations throughout are enough to make you afraid to sleep at night. The stories tell of monsters and ghouls, regular people finding themselves in terrifying, out-of-this-world situations. This same experience has been had by children for generations, all from the same prolific series. What went into making this book and its sequels, and what made them so fascinating? Let's dive into the history and impact of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Alvin Schwartz was born on April 25, 1927, in Brooklyn, New York. He grew up in a culturally rich environment surrounded by the diverse influences of the city. From a young age, Schwartz developed a deep love for books and storytelling, which would shape his career as an author. Schwartz attended the City College of New York, where he studied English and went on to earn his master's degree in journalism from Northwestern University. He began his professional career as a journalist, working for various newspapers and magazines. Schwartz's journalistic background honed his writing skills and instilled in him a dedication to thorough research and accurate storytelling. In addition to his work in journalism, Schwartz had a keen interest in folklore and legends. He was captivated by the power of storytelling, particularly the oral traditions passed down through generations. Drawing from this passion, he embarked on a journey to collect and adapt folk tales and urban legends for a younger audience.
What I am trying to do, I'm a writer, and I've written about 25 books. I'm very interested in folklore and folk life.
In 1981, Schwartz's vision materialized with the release of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. The book featured a compilation of creepy tales, carefully selected and adapted for a younger audience. The stories were drawn from various sources, including urban legends, folk tales, and personal accounts. Schwartz masterfully crafted these narratives, infusing them with suspense, terror, and a touch of macabre humor. However, it was Stephen Gamel's illustrations that brought the stories to life in a truly haunting way. Gamel, born on February 10, 1943 in Des Moines, Iowa, possessed a unique artistic style that perfectly complemented Schwartz's writing. His illustrations were dark, surreal, and sometimes grotesque, evoking a sense of unease and dread. Gamel's work captured the essence of each story, plunging readers into a nightmarish world populated by eerie creatures and spectral figures.
Alvin always had the final say with his publishers as to who would illustrate any book he wrote. So he was presented by his publisher with some work that Stephen Gamble had done, and he really was very impressed with that. And he wanted Stephen Gamble to illustrate his Scary Stories books, and were a really, really big part of the success of those books were the illustrations.
Schwartz's storytelling prowess and meticulous research earned him critical acclaim and recognition. His books received prestigious awards, including the Children's Choice Award and the California Young Reader Medal. However, the books faced numerous challenges and bans in American libraries over the years. The controversy surrounding the series primarily revolved around its content, which some parents and educators deemed too frightening or inappropriate for young readers. The bans were often driven by concerns over the book's graphic imagery, intense themes, and potential impact on children. Gamel's illustrations were considered too disturbing for young readers. Some critics argued that the images could potentially traumatize or negatively influence children, leading to nightmares or an unhealthy fascination with the macabre. The artwork was so controversial that years later, in 2011, the publishing company re-released the books with updated artwork by Brett Hellquist. This new artwork was much more tame and traditional, losing the unique and unsettling look of the originals. Another factor contributing to the bans was the nature of the stories themselves. Alvin Schwartz's tales drew inspiration from folklore, urban legends, and ghost stories, resulting in narratives that explored themes of death, the supernatural, and the unknown. These stories were seen by some as too intense for the target audience of children and young teenagers. The bans and challenges occurred primarily at the local level, with individual school districts and libraries making decisions regarding the availability of the books. In some cases, concerned parents or community members would request the removal or restriction of the books from the library shelves. Such challenges often led to debates about the role of censorship, the freedom to read, and the responsibility of libraries to provide a diverse range of materials. According to the American Library Association, the scary story books were the most challenged books of the 1990s. Schwartz's daughter Betsy told the Smithsonian Magazine that he used to joke,
"When I die, I want my New York Times obituary to say I had some of the most banned books in America."
While the series faced bans and challenges, it also had numerous supporters who argued for the value of the books. Advocates highlighted the series' literary merits, its ability to engage reluctant readers, and the importance of allowing children to explore their fears through storytelling. Many defended the books as means for children to develop critical thinking skills, confront their anxieties, and foster a love for reading. Despite the bans and challenges, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark remained widely available in libraries across the United States. Over time, the controversy surrounding the series began to wane and the books found their place as a beloved and influential part of children's literature. The bans served as a reminder of the ongoing debates about censorship, age-appropriate content, and the complex balance between protecting young readers and allowing them to access a wide range of literary experiences. Beyond the Scary Stories series, Schwartz authored numerous other books for children and young adults. He delved into various genres including folklore, humor, history. Some of his notable works include A Twister of Twists, A Tangler of Tongues, and In a Dark, Dark Room, and Other Scary Stories. Tragically, Alvin Schwartz's prolific career was cut short when he passed away on March 14, 1992 at the age of 64. However, his legacy lives on through his memorable stories and contributions to children's literature. Schwartz's dedication to folklore and his ability to captivate readers with his words continue to inspire and entertain generations of young readers. The stories themselves are definitely not quite as scary upon reading them as an adult, but I can remember being terrified of them as a child. But it was a kind of fear that was addictive, as I found myself checking out the books from my school library every chance I could get. I can still remember where they were on the shelf. The stories remind me very much of a kind of early creepypasta, distilled and simplified horror stories shared among young people, and made popular and memorable thanks to the often absurd morbidity and, of course, the iconic pictures. It's clear Schwartz was trying to capture the feeling of sitting around a campfire. He writes in the intro section of the first book,
"Pioneers used to entertain themselves by telling scary stories. At night, they might gather in somebody's cabin or around a fire and see who could scare the others the most. Telling scary stories is something people have done for thousands of years, for most of us like being scared in that way. Since there isn't any danger, we think it fun."
The stories are often accompanied by kinds of stage directions that instruct the reader to whisper or shout certain lines, as well as physical actions such as pouncing on one of the listeners. The first story of the series is one of the most famous, The Big Toe, a story about a boy who finds a toe sticking out of the ground. He ends up eating the toe in a stew cooked by his mother, only to be haunted later that night by the ghost of the man to whom the toe belonged. The absurd concept, coupled with the strange depiction of the boy in the illustration, immediately sets the tone for the entire series. The story was based on a southeastern American tale, which itself was based on an older English or German one. Another one of the stories, simply titled The Haunted House, contains one of the most memorable and terrifying illustrations in the entire series. The two sequels to the first book are not merely cash grabs. The books arguably only get better as they go on, with the third and final installment containing some of the most famous stories of them all. Arguably the most popular story, Harold, comes from the third book. This story about an abused scarecrow that comes to life absolutely terrified me as a child, and I was not the only one. From the same book hail other classics like The Red Spot and The Dream, each with creepy premises and unsettling imagery. Each of the books have a surprising amount of variety. There are stories meant to be scary, some humorous, some short, some long. Schwartz divided the stories into thematic sections such as ghosts, witches, and haunted places, providing a comprehensive exploration of the supernatural. This organization not only facilitates easy navigation, but also adds depth to the reading experience. The stories are written in a very informal and simple fashion, which certainly lends to children's literature, but also simulates the way these stories would be told by normal people. Each one draws from specific folklore, some obscure and some more well-known. Rather than turning these stories into complicated, sprawling narratives, Schwartz simply presents them exactly as they are, easy to communicate and intentionally rudimentary. Although it's already been said so far, the artwork in these books deserves much attention. It can be argued that the main reason for the massive popularity of the books is thanks to Gamel's incredibly unique style. The illustrations alone are terrifying even apart from the stories. All of them are drawn in such a way that makes them eye-catching and confusing to the mind. The figures are often shadowy and seem to fade away around the edges. Everything is misshapen and mismatched, with strange proportions and shapes. The drawings of animals often have human features such as human eyes or limbs. Every structure is abstract and decrepit, and every surface is covered with the characteristically spindly masses that look like creeping plant roots or dripping blood. A black and white color grade makes everything seem ghastly and old. Shadows form faces and figures, every object seems to be alive and moving. Somehow even mundane things like a drum, a chair, or a clock become unsettling set pieces. The drawings are almost indescribable, and all of them seem to be taken directly from a dream. It could be argued that many of the illustrations that depict such an empty room are an early form of liminal art, giving off a feeling of dreadful emptiness. It was truly a mistake on the part of the publishers to release new versions of the books with completely different illustrations. These new drawings, while certainly well done in their own right, simply do not compare to the uniquely unsettling and abstract style of Gamel. The stories are immensely complemented by the original illustrations and fit perfectly with a kind of indistinct folklorish aesthetic. While much more could be said about the series, suffice it to say that they are very much deserving of the attention they received, for better or for worse. The stories are not as calculated or in-depth as books like Goosebumps, but managed to succeed far greater at creating a genuinely unsettling and memorable feeling by means of relatable and truly human storytelling and nightmarish imagery. Schwartz's goal was not only to curate an anthology of scary tales, but also to preserve the oral storytelling tradition. He recognized the importance of these stories and cultural heritage and believed in their enduring power to captivate and engage audiences. By presenting a diverse range of narratives, Schwartz aimed to showcase the universal nature of fear and the common threads that connect humanity through shared nightmares. The appeal of scary stories to tell in the dark lies in its timeless ability to tap into primal fears. The stories themselves touch on transcendent themes such as the supernatural, the unknown, and the macabre. By exploring these fears in a safe and controlled environment, readers can experience a thrill and adrenaline rush knowing that they are only a page turn away from escaping that horror. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark holds a special place in the hearts of many readers, evoking a sense of nostalgia and fond memories. Its continual appeal lies in its ability to transport readers back to their youth when they first encountered the book's chilling tales and haunting illustrations. For those who experienced Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark during their formative years, the book represents a gateway to a world of imagination and exploration. Reading the scary stories under the covers with a flashlight, sharing them at sleepovers, or discussing them with friends in hushed whispers created a sense of camaraderie and shared excitement. The books became a cultural touchstone, sparking conversations and bonding over the delightfully eerie tales they contained. The enjoyment of the Scary Stories books is not limited to its original audience. As the years have passed, new generations of readers have discovered and embraced the books, perpetuating their legacy. Parents who grew up with the books now introduce it to their children, passing down the tradition of sharing these spooky tales. Furthermore, the book's timeless nature allows it to transcend generational gaps. The fears and anxieties that underpin the stories continue to resonate with readers of all ages. The human fascination with the unknown, the thrill of being scared in a safe environment, and the allure of folklore and ghost stories ensure that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark remains relevant to readers across different eras. In 2008, an official audiobook version was released. The audiobook, narrated by George S. Irving, features a selection of stories from the book along with atmospheric music and sound effects to enhance the chilling experience. This allowed for the stories to become even more accessible to the internet generation, with the audiobook making its way onto YouTube. A channel called Moonraven became popular for its pairing of the audio with 3D animated stills. In recent years, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark received renewed attention with the release of a film adaptation in 2019, introducing another generation to the haunting world of Alvin Schwartz. This adaptation not only honored the original stories, but also captured the essence of Stephen Gamel's illustrations, ensuring a faithful and atmospheric representation of the book. While the film itself is nothing really to write home about, it did manage to be a genuinely suspenseful, though PG-13, horror movie. Perhaps the most interesting thing about the film was the live-action depictions of the monsters from the books. Seeing the creatures lifted from the pages and made alive is fascinating, though somehow the illustrations themselves are still more scary. The film set up a sequel, though there isn't any set release date yet. Coinciding with the release of the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, an engaging fan-made documentary titled Scary Stories emerged, adding an extra layer of depth to the topics we've been exploring in this video. This documentary provides an insightful and captivating look at the cultural impact of the books. Numerous other fan projects have gained considerable popularity as well. Strange and Scary Things, for instance, has garnered attention for its remarkable recreations of the original book illustrations in 3D, breathing new life into the classic visuals. Another noteworthy fan endeavor is Scary Stories, a tribute to terror, an extensive collection of fan-created stories meticulously crafted to emulate the style of the original series. Accompanied by artwork reminiscent of Stephen Gamel's iconic illustrations, this compilation offers readers a nostalgic and eerie experience very much like that of the classic books. These fan projects not only pay homage to the legacy of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but also continue to stoke the flames of horror enthusiasts' imaginations, ensuring that the spine-chilling spirit of these tales endures for generations to come. This captivating trilogy of books released throughout the 80s and 90s unleashed a wave of spine-chilling horror that gripped children of all ages. With its potent blend of folklore and storytelling, these books not only terrified children but also preserved the rich oral traditions of America and Europe, creating lasting memories for children across the globe. Surviving nationwide controversy and legions of upset parents, the books continue to prove to be a timeless source of horror for all their readers. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.